What's going on, everybody? Principal Kafele here. Part 5. So you want to be a professional speaker? Let's talk. This one is subtitled, When Can I Quit My Day Job? Once again, when can I quit my day job? I think that's the question that everybody that wants to be a professional speaker has. And the purpose of this final video, this final installment of So You Want to Be a Professional Speaker, is going to talk about just that. I could subtitle this the administrative aspect of speaking, but I wanted to leave a leave a subtitle that was a little bit more intriguing, right? So when can I quit my day job? All right, let's look at it. I put together a nice little presentation for you. I got a several bullet points. I think I got what I got here. I got 23 bullet points, so a little shorter than the other one. So hopefully it won't take me as much time to get through it. But I wanted to get this in. We talked about in part 4, and I hope you watch all 5 parts. But in part 4, that was the glamorous part. That was the actual speaking. That was on the stage. That was you doing your thing up on the stage or on the platform or in the room, whatever the setup is. But now, before you quit your job, let's pump the brakes and let's talk about some things that'll help you to decide when is the right time. So let's go through these 23 bullet points and see how long it takes. Number 1, planning. Planning. You got to plan. And I don't mean in this case planning to leave your job per se. That's the subtitle, but I mean, I'm talking about planning within the work. You've got to be one that knows how to plan. You've got to be structured. If you're one that's kind of scattered all over the place, disorganized, writing notes on like on an envelope somewhere, and then some other notes on some scratch paper somewhere, and there's just no organization to you, then you're gonna have to tighten that up. I won't say this is not for you, but if you don't tighten that up, it's not for you, because as a professional speaker, and in most cases, people that want to do this, and those of you that want to do it sort of comparable to what you've seen of me, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have a boss. Well, the wife is the boss. You know how that works, right? But I don't have a boss. You know, I I just I wake up and live my professional life, add in some personal life, and then go to sleep and then start off the new day. Of course, there's a lot more to that, but my whole day is planned. A lot of times it's planned the night before. It's not just shut down and then go on to whatever I'm gonna do. Like this is I'm a one person show. I don't have to be that way. Perhaps some of my professional colleagues, in fact, I know some of them watch these because they tell me, and some of them, they may tell you otherwise. They may say they've hired this person to do that and that person to do this, and all that. But I can afford to hire people now. But when I left my day job, which was principal, when I left my day job, I wasn't in a position to hire people to do this and that. So people, there are people now in the speaker world, they got the social media people. They hire them, they pay them a stipend, and they handle the social media. You got other people that handle the administrative work, such as the contracts, the invoices, etc. So that's their work. Other people, they may handle the email, or maybe the person that handles the contracts, the invoices, they also handle your email. Maybe they handle your booking, or maybe you've hired an agency and they handle your booking of your flights, your booking of your hotels and your cars and all that kind of stuff, right? But see, I'm a one person show, but I also happen to be an introvert, right? It doesn't come across when I speak. You'd never know that. But I really enjoy being to myself, right? Or my wife and I, that type of thing. I'm not one that wants to be on the phone talking to a scheduler, talking to a booker, talking to someone that handles my administrative. I don't want to do that. I have time to do it, but I don't want to do it, right? I do everything myself. So therefore, I'm a workaholic. I enjoy working and I do everything. So there's nothing. Let me say that word again, nothing. Let me say it again, but put capital letters on it this time. There's nothing about my business called Principal Kafele Consulting LLC that other people have responsibilities, right? That's not me boasting because it means I'm overworked. It just means that this is how I plan, this is how I desire, is a better word, to carry out my business, right? So I'm not saying you got to be Principal Kafele. You don't have to be me and do it the way I do it. However, and this is a big however, capital letters on this one too. You may not be able to afford initially to hire people to do all these things. You may need to do it yourself. I couldn't afford it back when I started, but once I got into it deep, I decided I like this. I because see, when you go to our second word, let me go to it: organization. If I'm flawed in all areas of my life, one area that I'm not flawed is organization. I'm organized, right? I would say on the one hand, it's a skill that I developed, but on the other hand, I think I'm just that way. You know, we all have our traits, right? And I think I'm just that way. I'm just organized in what I do. You would be surprised. This presentation was organized, planned a few days ago. But you would be amazed by the amount of time I spent tweaking this just now to get it a certain way. It was already done days ago. But because I'm so structured and because I'm so organized, I decided, no, I want to move this here, this there, this there. I just wanted to structure it a little bit differently. So going back, because kind of planning and organization kind of go together. And I want to make sure that I have that there. So planning, you've got to be one that knows how to plan everything about your business, right? Planning your day, planning. And when I say planning your day, maybe it's a day of organizing your presentation, for example, for the next client. All right. Well, you've got to know how to go about planning that, right? So allotting time, because your whole day you may not be able to devote your whole day, your entire day, to planning a presentation. There may be phone calls that you have to take. There may be emails that you have to respond to. There may be things that come up that you had not planned for, that are just part of the work or part of your personal life that you have to attend to, right? So there could be Zoom meetings that you have to engage in, because see, now that Zoom has become a thing, it was here before the pandemic, but it wasn't used the way it is now. Now it's a big part of so many people's lives, including mine. So now, prior to the presentation, the client may want to have a Zoom call with me. So now on days that I'm home, those are the days I'm not on the road. So I'm home. Those are the days I typically devote to those Zoom meetings. So any given day, I could have 5, 6, 7 meetings just talking about the events that are forthcoming. So I need to plan out where those are going to fall in my day, because those can be very lengthy. Those meetings could be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. I should say an hour and change. They could be lengthy because there could be several people on the call, and they've got all these questions for me, and they've got all these things they want to tell me, and they've got all these things they want me to respond to. So I have to plan my day. I've got to structure my day in a way that I can get everything done, but stay organized. Right. So it's got to be so if you're one, when you look in your mirror, and I happen to have one handy right here, let's just get the fingerprints off of it. When you go to your mirror and you see you, do you see somebody that plans well, that plans effectively, and go again, interchanging this, is organized, right? That matters. So you got to be highly organized. You got to kind of compartmentalize everything about this work, right? So this part is here. So now I'm going to devote this amount of time to just booking my flights. That could take booking flights. If you're once you're speaking, um your speaking work, right, goes to a high level, right? Your speaking business, that's the word I was looking for. Once your speaking business really takes off, booking flights can be a day-long activity, because it's not like the flights are lined up how you want them. If you're in New Jersey on one day, like where I am, but the next day, maybe you're in New Mexico, and they don't, and maybe there's not a direct flight to New Mexico. All right, well, you got to figure that out, right? Or maybe, just you got to go so many different places to get to where you want to be, or maybe the flight is there, but not at the time you need it. Particularly when you're booking from an engagement as opposed to home. From home is easy, but if your engagement ends at 3 o'clock, the airport is 2 hours away, and you have a rental car and you got to take a shuttle, and there could be traffic, and the security lines could be long, right? You have to factor all that in. So you've got to really familiarize yourself with this whole travel game so that you can book your flights accordingly and not miss your flight, right? So all of that's planning. I'm not going to spend this whole video on planning and organization, but I will say, I'll cap it by saying you must be one that knows how to go about planning effectively, and you must be organized. Now, let me throw another one in there that I don't have on the screen but ties into it, and that's time management. You've got to be one who knows how to manage your time, because if you don't know how to manage your time, as the cliche goes, your time will manage you, and you'll find that you've got no time to do anything. Because see, there's a lot of my colleagues who would never do what I'm talking to you about right now. They're going to hire people, but these are colleagues who are seasoned. These are not rookies. These are not newbies. These are seasoned speakers who have the money to pay other people. I make the money to pay other people. I just choose not to, because of my ability to plan, my organizational skill, and my ability to manage time. For that reason, and me not wanting to deal with a lot of people. So therefore, I'm saying to you, you got to know how to manage time, or you will run out of time. You'll be one of those stressed individuals, those frustrated individuals, those discouraged individuals that says, I don't have time to do everything I want to do. Because guess what? Look over I guess that's my right shoulder here. I said guess because this is reverse. Look over my right shoulder. You see one of my books on the shelf, right? You have to have time to do more than administrative work. I write books. I've written 14. I write articles. I write blogs. I obviously make videos. I have a Saturday Academy live stream every Saturday morning, 10:55, the AP and New Principles Academy. That averages 2 hours. That means there's a lot of planning that goes into developing an agenda because I have guests that come on. Well, if all my work is the administrative aspects of the work, when do I do the creative part of the work? Such as the AP and New Principles Academy, such as writing the books, such as writing the articles for professional journals, such as writing the blog posts, right? Such as all the creative part of the work, which is what allows you to be somebody in this business. See, if you think it's all speaking, you got the wrong thoughts, but you go to one of the previous videos for that. That's not what this one's for. I got that in the previous videos. It's not just the speaking. You got to be a writer. There's so many other things you've got to do, but you've got to be able to structure that into your day while doing the administrative work. Now for me, I'll just say this about the booking and then I'm gonna move on. I book flights in one day, a month's worth. I might book those flights on an airplane if I'm doing a long flight. If I'm flying coast to coast, Jersey to California, then the chances are good I will book an entire month's worth of flights, hoping that Wi-Fi is working good. I'll book them all. Takes time. Might take that whole flight, depending on how many engagements. If I have 12, 15 engagements, those flights are going to take a long time to book, because it's not just going to a website and booking a flight. It's going into your files and seeing, okay, what time does this engagement end? Okay, now I got to go to the website and measure the distance. What is the distance from the engagement and the airport, right? So you go into your files, you look at that, and then you find out, because here's something that happens. Oh, the client never told me the address of the engagement because it's still early. So in the client's mind, you don't need it, but you're trying to book flights, and then you're trying to book hotels. So now you got to read. So now you're trying to book flights. I don't have pertinent information. Now you got to go to the email, write the client, hope the client is somewhere near the computer or device to get the email. When you ask them, what is the address? So now you can gauge what the distance is between, say your engagement and the airport. And then you factor in traffic and you can determine how much time you need, right? But you also need to know the address for the hotel. You don't want to book a hotel just because you like a certain brand of hotel, but it's 30 miles away, 40 miles away. You want to book a hotel that's near, assuming it's a hotel you want to stay in. As I told you in a previous video, I don't stay in just any hotel. I'm a Hilton guy, so I accumulate points, right? So I'm looking for a Hilton brand hotel. Doesn't have to be Hilton, but part of the Hilton Honors family, right? So there, because I know that brand and I'm comfortable with that brand and I know everything about the brand. So all that's got to be factored in. But see, that's your planning. That's your organization. So therefore, now when the client books you, you can say to the client, "Can you tell me the address of the venue?" You get that in advance. So now you got that, right? I don't ask them to help me with hotels ever. I don't ask them to help me with cars. I don't ask them to help me with booking flights. They can't book this flight because they don't know what I'm up against. They don't know what I'm dealing with in terms of why I want a certain time. So I do that. If I had to hire someone, if I hired someone, imagine the volume of conversation I got to have with this person so that they know what flight I want. By the time we have all that conversation, I could have booked the flight. And that's why I don't hire somebody. That's why I do it myself. So then I got to book the car, right? All you, so you got all that. So again, planning, organization, but let's throw in time management. You've got to be able to manage your time. You don't want to spend all your time doing paperwork. You don't want to spend all your time doing administrative work. But if you're doing paperwork, administrative work all the time, then my question to you is, when are you creative? Right? When are you doing the creative part of the work? When are you creating new presentations? When are you creating new keynotes? When are you writing new books or at least new chapters? When are you writing blogs, which I'll say you must do. You must write. When are you writing articles, which I'll say you must write, right? When are you managing your social media, which you must do, right? I can't have somebody doing my social media. They don't think like me, right? That's me. You ever see a post that's written on my page? I wrote that, right? That's me. They don't think like me, right? That's me. So social media is important. So therefore, I got to post regularly, right? So all it planning, organization, time management. If you're deficient in your planning skills, if you're deficient in your organizational skill, if you're deficient in managing time, you got work to do. So let's go back to the sub question. When can I quit my job? You deficient in time management, organization, and planning? Stay on your day job for a while. You're not ready. Because this work here, this requires a wealth of planning, organization, and time management. Enough said. Let's go. Fees. Woo. That's a big one. Hey, Principal Kafele, you think I'm ready to leave my day job? Let's talk about these fees and see. See, everybody has that question. Like, what Principal Kafele, what should I set my fee at? I don't know. I don't have that answer for you. And one of the reasons I don't have that answer for you is because I don't know your expenses. Your fees have to cover two sets of expenses: your business expenses and your personal expenses. I don't know your expenses. So here's what you do: you get yourself either your electronic device, your tablet, your computer, or old school pen and paper, pencil and paper, and you list all your expenses. What's your monthly mortgage? What's your monthly rent? What's your car expenses? If you're paying for health care, what is that? Right? Your grocery expenses, your energy expenses, meaning your utilities. And anything else, right? Whatever you spend money on. If you're one that likes to eat and more than the average person, then factor that in, right? We'll talk about cutting back on all that eating later. If you're one that likes to spend money on clothes, if you're one that likes to go out and have a good time, if you're one that has children and you've got expenses with them, right? If you've got a spouse and you've got expenses with them, or a partner, whatever it is, you read a lot and you buy books, whatever the things you do to float your boat, those things cost money, right? So whatever it is that you do, your gasoline for your car, you got to think about everything, because You don't have that paycheck coming anymore. Once you leave that job, you don't have that. That's gone. Everything you make is generated by what you do as an entrepreneur, unless you're working for a company. And if you work for a company, these videos are really not talking to you. Not this one anyway, not 5. Maybe the one when I talked about presentations, yeah. But this one, number 5, nah, it's not for you. Because you work for somebody. You got a paycheck coming. They probably pay your benefits, right? You pay, they pay your expenses. That this not you. Or if you just have a second income, you work you have another job, you speak on the side. This may not be for you either, unless you want to eventually leave that job. This video is primarily for people who their speaking is their primary source of income. They got investments, they make money, and we're gonna talk about that on this video. But first, if you're gonna make it, if you're gonna invest money into something, well, first you got to generate money, right? And that will probably be this. So your fees, you list all your personal expenses, your monthly. Maybe you want to break it down by week. Then you list your business expenses. What do you estimate them flights are going to be? You can go on any website and see what these flights cost. They're expensive. What do you estimate your rental car would be? You can go on those rental car sites and look it over. What do you anticipate the hotel costs? What do you anticipate your meal costs will be when you're on the road? What do you anticipate the tolls might be when you're on the highway? Because even though if you go through them easy passes, the rental company's going to charge you for it, right? So you get your bill when you return the car, your receipt when you return the car, but you check your email later, it's going to look different. Because if you were going through tolls and you weren't paying for those tolls, it's going to show up, right? So you got all that to factor in, and whatever other expenses that you may have when you're on the road. You may go out somewhere, right? I don't tend to, but every now and then I'll treat myself to an NBA game. Well, I'm not sitting. I'm 63. Back in the old days, I'll sit up top, but now if I go to a basketball game, no, I'm not sitting. I'm not sitting up there. I've earned better. So I'm sitting somewhere near that court. So you figure that's about $1,000 right there. But I'm gonna eat while I'm there, right? So that's about another $100 because it costs you just get a box of popcorn, you paying about 12, right? So all that. So you want to list all of that, and then you may find, oh my God. See, most of us don't list our monthly expenses. So we don't know what we're paying. That's not, we just pay it. But now you're gonna be intentional and list all your expenses. So your monthly expenses, and then you list your business expenses and your personal expenses, and you're gonna find, wow, I spent a lot of money. I didn't know I was spending so much money. Yeah, you might find that you might discover that about yourself. So now you got to think about, okay, and again, I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about your partner, right? I'm talking about your children. And maybe your children will one day go to college, or maybe your children will go to a private elementary, middle, or high school, whatever. Maybe your children go to dance class, acting class, um tutoring, whatever. All those expense, your children's clothes, your children's meals, like all, I'm not gonna spend this whole video talking about what you know what they are, right? So all those expenses that your children have, that your spouse may have. Of course, if your spouse is working, your spouse pays some of that theoretically. I don't know how you run your household, so I'm gonna say theoretically. So therefore, you got to factor all that in. Don't leave anything out. Maybe you like snacks, not just the regular groceries. Well, factor that in. Maybe you buy gadgets, like this camera that I'm speaking to you on. That costs a little money. This light is keeping me bright. It costs a little money, right? It's so much. It's so much. I look at my business expense. I'm like, my God, the printer for the copier over there, the new computer, the new software. Expenses don't end. So therefore, you gotta know what they are. And that will help you determine your fee. And you might find out, like, oh my God, I am spending I just ballpark figure. I'm spending $6,000 a month. When you factor in, like, maybe you one of them that got the luxury car, I don't know. It's, everybody's different. I've never owned a luxury car because I'm just not that guy. Just give me a car that's going to get me from point A to point B. I don't need to get there in style. Long as I'm in style, right? You see what I'm saying? Some of us, we want the car to be in style, right? I'm not that guy. I'm not criticizing though. I'm just letting you know, a $500 car note ain't gonna be my reality. A 600, $700 car note is not going to be my reality. So I don't have to put that. I got a seven, 800, $900,000 a month car note because I want to look stylish when I get there. Not me. I roll up there in an Uber. You kidding me? And some of y'all might think I'm joking, but those of you that know me, I'm not joking. I haven't owned a car in 5 years. Somebody said, repeat that. I haven't owned a car. I don't need a car. When I'm home, I'm like really home. I don't go nowhere. When I'm home, it's a couch I'm pointing at. It's a love seat. That's where I sit all day long. I say to my wife, guess I'll be sitting here for the next 12 hours. That's where I do my work too, though. TV's right in front of it. That's everything is there. Only time I'm sitting over here is when I'm recording. That's all. Other than that, I'm never in this seat. Never ever. Just when I'm recording, I'm over there, and I'm not going nowhere. It snowed today. I was telling my audience, I don't snow. I don't shovel. These hands will never shovel again in another day in life. I don't shovel. I earn that. See, so those kinds of things are not my expenses. My wife has a car. I make sure my wife is in a new car. We getting ready to get another one. We were going today, but I don't feel like it next week. But that's one of my expenses. I'm not. But that's me. That's just that's letting you in a little bit about how I run my household. But you got to base it on how you run yours. So now watch this. Let's say that you discover that your monthly expenses are about $5,000. I'm just going to use a round figure. But let's say, and this going to give somebody stress. I think just where I am right now, somebody probably already stressing because you may have been thinking, hmm, I'm new to this. Maybe I should be charging like maybe $3,000 a month, right? But then you ran you divvied up your expenses and you found out you spend in expenses $5,000 a month. Now you sitting there looking at me saying, "Oh my God, I I'm not gonna make it like that." Yeah, that's why the name of this is "When Can I Quit My Day Job?" You're not gonna make a profit at 3,000. So let's say you said, okay, well, I need to set my fee at 5,000. But in the back of your mind, you said, but who am I? Like nobody knows me. I don't have a reputation in this business yet. Who would pay me, this unknown, $5,000? And if they did pay me the $5,000, my expenses are going to eat that up. Yeah, how about that? It's going to eat it right up. But let me give you a little more stress. There ain't too many clients out here that pay you within a good time frame to pay your expenses. The average client takes 2 months to pay me. And I'm sure that my speaker colleagues that may see this video will say amen. But they may add to that amen. They'll say amen, but that's the average one. It doesn't account for the aberration, who's not necessarily an aberration, who will take 3 months, 4 months, 5 months to pay for one engagement. Yeah, that's real. If nobody ever told you that, good thing you stumbled on this video. Sometime like it'll be October, November, December, and I'm still chasing August money. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then they make all sorts of excuses. Oh, well, I did my part, but the accounts payable person didn't do their part. Or the purchasing person didn't sign off on and do their part. It's always, just they blaming each other. And in the meantime, I don't care. Like that's not my problem. Where's my money? I spoke at your event in August, and now it's almost Christmas. But now here's you. you got bills to pay. You got bills to pay. Now, keep in mind, I probably scared you in a way that I didn't need to. I said the 5,000 might not cover, but that's assuming you only had one engagement, right? And as a rookie, I don't know. I don't know how many you're gonna have as a brand new neophyte, right? I don't know. But here's the thing: if you got two, now you cover them $5,000 in expenses if the client sends your money on time. If you got three, four, and see, I'll say to you, let's go back to the question: when can I quit my day job? Well, you need to know that you're going to do at least four engagements a week. I mean, a month, one per week. You need to know it. You need to have some level of confidence that you either you don't have them now, but you got it lined up, so it's going to work out that way. Because that was me. I didn't have any clients when I left, but we'll get into that, right? So, but if you know you got four, and you're gonna make at least 18, $20,000, right, in a month, then you should be good on your expenses, right? You should be good. But see, I'm making these videos because I want you to make far more than $20,000 a month. Now I know that there's some naive people that see this and they'll say 20,000 a month, that much money? Nah, that's not that's in the speaking business, y'all. That's not a lot of money. Not 20,000. It's good money for anybody. I ain't gonna sneeze at. I'm not going. I'm not going to push it away, right? But if you're gonna be a full time speaker, let me get close to the camera on this one. Let me look up in my lens on this one too. I would expect you to make far more than $20,000 a month if you're gonna do this work at a high level, right? We'll leave that right there because I'm not really trying to disclose my salary. I obviously I do well. If I'm on here talking about this, see, let me tell y'all something, man. I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it. If you on here making, doing videos like this, doing seminars like this, you better be doing well. Because one thing I don't like is people that want to get on here and tell you how to make all this money and they ain't making no money. So their way of making money is by giving you a seminar about how to make money, and that becomes their source of income, not the work, but the seminar to say, here's how you make money. But whatever they're talking about, they're not living that. That burns me up. And I know that goes on. I know it does. Right. But I'm not going to get deep into that. That's negative. I try not to be negative. I just want to tell you what's out here, because you got hucksters out here. See, I don't have to worry about that because I don't charge money for this. This is a free YouTube video. You watch it when you want to watch it. There are people that probably approach me at some point and say, man, Kafele, man, you gave, like, once this is finished, the 5 videos combined will be about 7 or 8 hours. People's like, you gave 7, 8 hours of free content. That's a full day. You gave a full day of free content on how to be a professional speaker. Like why not just go out and do weekends and make $100,000 a weekend? Because I don't roll like that. That's why I don't roll like that. I wait for the blessing. Right. That's how I get down. I wait for the blessing. Because I'm gonna get the $100,000 blessing. Now, when I say $100,000 blessing, I don't mean, I'm not literally putting a price tag on the blessing. I just know the blessing gonna be big time. Because when your faith is strong, you have certain expectancy, right? You just expect certain things. So I have expectancy when I do a good deed. I know it's gonna come back at me. I know that. Right. So, but that's, I feel myself getting into faith, and some of y'all might not want to hear that. So I won't go any further with that. But I also know that there are other people on here saying amen. Right. I know that. And then you got everybody in between. So your fee, you have to consider your expenses. But then on the other hand, people ask the fee just, kind of generically. And I always say it's what the market can bear. Right. It's like, like if you go speak at a program and there are multiple different speakers, it's not like we all charge the same. The client won't say, here's what we can offer. That's rare. They'll say, what's your fee? So I could be on a program and I could be the opening keynoter, or I could be the closing keynoter. In the comedian world, they call that the headliner, but the speaker world works a little bit differently. But I could be that top speaker. but my fee is my fee, and I may have come in lower, which I know I do. I know this definitively than others on the program, right? So, every now and then a nice client will say, you came in lower than so and so, and you are top speaker. I'm like, that's all right. I'm good. Give me what I asked for. Give them what they asked for. And here's why: the blessing is coming. It's coming. All right, I ain't worried about that. I'm not worried about the fact that the other speaker who may not have the same name recognition I have, the same status in the world that I have. I'm not worried that they may be making $5,000 more than I'm making. I'm not worried about that because I'm gonna get blessed. It's coming. What Dion say? It's coming. He said, "I'm coming." Well, it's coming, right? Enough there. So the fee, keep all that in mind when you set your fee. But I'll say this: I said it in a previous video. I'm gonna say it again. Have fee integrity. Right? You can't be bouncing your fee around and because you decide this client, I think they got more money. I'm gonna charge them double what I charge somebody else. Don't do that because them clients gonna talk. They know each other. If you're in a particular industry, such as I'm in the education industry, oh, they know each other. They talking. Superintendents, oh man, they know each other, especially in a region, like you, the Northeast region, Southeast region, or maybe in a state, they know each other. They be in meetings together. They be in conferences together. Oh, I had Principal Kafele. What, how much you pay? Oh yeah, what you pay for Principal Kafele? Oh, X amount of dollars. Huh? What? We paid him like triple that. Oh, we got him for free. He was feeling, he was feeling generous that day. We got him for free. Principal Fair, nah, I ain't getting that call, man. Fee integrity, it matters. Make sure you're consistent. Now, if a client comes to me and says, "I don't want to pay you what I don't want to pay your fee. I want to pay you more," and by all means, what I'm gonna do? Say no. I'm gonna say, "Okay, you know my fee, but you want to give me more? Fine. Where do I sign?" Right? I'm gonna take it because that's because I'm not being dishonest. They know my fee, but they want to give me more. They want to bless me. But here, let's look at the flip side. Kafele, you too high for us. I get that. I get that like 80% of the time. You too high. All right, then we negotiate. And that's fine. That's fair game too. So we negotiate. But I told him my fee. So we had to negotiate and I came lower. But I don't feel, I'm not going to worry about that with another client because they understand that this client had no budget to pay me what I'm worth. All right. So keep that in mind. Let's go. Number 4, vendor applications. These things can be tedious. Let's go back to planning and organization. Sometime a vendor will send you a document that's 25 pages, 30 pages long, and there's not even a bid. It's just an application so that they can put you in their vendor system. Well, you gotta respond to that. You gotta respond quickly. They have a program coming up. It's a certain day. They need to get you in the system, and you messing around, and I ain't got time for this. I'm so busy. I got so much on my plate. I'm overwhelmed. All that. You might miss out on the engagement because your planning and organizational skill is deficient, and they needed that vendor application tomorrow, despite how long it is. So now you gotta get it done. Maybe you might have to stay up a little later, a half hour later, hour later, because with all the emails, like I get a zillion emails a day. I gotta go through them all, right? The good thing is them emails are blessings. Those are people inviting me to speak, right? So I ain't mad at them, but it's just I get a lot of them and they want different things. They want a quote. So I got to fill out a quote for them now. They want this, they want a lot of different things, right? And I gotta respond, and I gotta respond in a timely fashion because I could be competing against someone else that they're looking at. And if I can get my information in quickly, then there's a higher probability they're gonna go with me. Now, chances are I'm not competing, but I still want to get that paperwork in because tomorrow new paperwork's coming in that I got to respond to. So let me get all this done because tomorrow, by the time I wake up in the morning, I got a bunch of emails. People, we want you to come and speak here, we want you to come and speak there. So we need this, we need that, we need the contract, all this and that. You got to sign the contract, scan it back into your computer, send it. It's a lot. So you got to make sure you on it. But this vendor application, Oh man. And it could be 20 pages long, and they might send it PDF, the kind of PDF that you could just write right on it, right? But the signature may require that you handwrite. It might not be electronic signature. Of course, a lot of places use the electronic signature, but other places don't. So now you got to, and then they'll say they don't want you to separate the signature page from the rest of the application, right? Like I never understood that, but it's real. They want everything in one document. So now it was just the one document that you had to separate and sign as put a physical signature on, and then you got to scan the whole thing back in so that it goes as one document. You talk about a waste of time. That's what that is, right? Sometimes I say to the client, "Well, can't I just send you two files, like the one that I filled in where you could just fill in the PDF on the computer, and then the signature page if you don't use an electronic signature?" No, we need it all as one. Are you kidding me? So now I got to all this extra work scanning all that in in a timely fashion so that they receive it. So you got to keep that in mind. Right. So those vendor applications, I love the client. Sometimes the vendor application is less than a page. I love that client. But that client that says it's like 20 pages, man, it's got if you have a criminal history, you got to fill all them sheets out. Um, it's just a lot. I don't even want to name all them pages, man. It's a lot of pages. E-Verify is on there. Conflict of interest is on there. I mean, it's so much. Well, you got to handle that. That's part of it. Now, again, those of you, you're making money and you can hire people. Some people hire interns. They hire college students, high school students. Then fine, give that to them, right? But those of you that don't want to spend any money, then all right, well, you got to structure your day. So it really depends on who you are, what you're doing, what you can afford, and all that kind of thing. Let's go. Number 5, contracts. I'm shaking my head on this because I don't know how I want to go with this. I could do a whole session just on the contract, right? Really, I could do a whole session on all of this, but the contract. I use a simple contract. It has no teeth in it. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I don't want to mislead anybody. Because I left my last school in 2011, and I've been entrepreneur, self-employed ever since. So as of the date of this video, it's February 17, 2024. Um, I've been out here 13 years. I think I've only had 2 cancellations out of thousands, get hundreds, thousands of presentations since I left my school. I've only had 2 cancellations. So therefore, I'm at a point now where it seems like nobody cancels. I'm not, and the cancellations were due to weather. It's not like somebody just said we can't do it. It was due to weather, or a superintendent might have needed the day. They always rebooked it. So I don't need teeth in my contract to say if you cancel, you owe me X number of dollars. I don't have a cancellation clause. I don't have it because I don't need them to pay me for that day. I will make it up. We're gonna make it up. I never had a cancellation, and we didn't make up the day, and it was soon after. So I'm not worried about that. But that's me, and I don't want to be reckless. You, and depending on how much money you're generating a year or a month, you may need a cancellation clause. Maybe you were banking on that. You're only doing 4 presentations a month, right? Maybe less, maybe slightly more, and you really need that money, right? Then you might need that cancellation clause, because if they cancel and you were banking on whatever number, I'll just use round figures now. This is not my fee, but I'm just going to use it for the sake of discussion. Your fee is $5,000, right? Well, now you're gonna have to figure out. Um, you just lost $5,000, and you were banking on that for that week. Well, the cancellation clause is not going to be 5,000. It might be 500. Maybe you could squeeze 1,000 out of that, but no one's going to pay you a lot more than that as a cancellation, right? It's just you all you can do is hope that they rebook you later, and that's what you're going to push for. That's your salesmanship, that's your people skills, etc. But let's go a little bit deeper with this. Your contract. So your contract is gonna have your information in terms of your letterhead, right? So it'll have all your information, where they would send a check in addition to the invoice. It'll have the parties to the contract, you and whomever else. whether you be a company or an individual, and we'll break all that down later. I'm a company. Some people are individual, the sole proprietor, but we'll break that down in a little while. Not yet, not just yet. Um, but you'll have that. So you're the two parties to the contract. So then you'll have a description of what you're going to do, and then you'll have the location, the time. All that's important. Like from what time to what time, right? Where you going to do this at? But here's the big part. In addition to the fee itself, your expenses. Like where who's going to pay for that? Who's gonna book your flight? Who's gonna book your hotel? All that's in the contract. So where it says travel expenses, mine says to paraphrase it. I don't know my exact wording. To be handled by by Principal Kafele, right? So my booking of my flights, booking of my I don't need the client to because they'll call like where would you like to fly from? No, I got that. So the booking of all travel, flight, hotel, ground transportation, cab, Uber, rental car, whatever, that will be handled by me. So that's in the contract. But now the expenses. Who will cover the expenses? Me or the client? Now hear me well on this. I don't want you to miss this. I pay 100% of the expenses, and I would dare say most of my clients do as well. We pay the expenses. Now, someone that doesn't know the business, you probably right now like standing up like, what the? Are you kidding me? Yes, we pay the expenses because we fold them in to the fee. So, in other words, when you determine your fee, you're going to factor in the flight, the hotel, the ground transportation, your meals, and whatever else that you would spend that relates to travel. Not your new adapter that you left your phone adapter home, right? Not that, right? Or other, but all your travel related expenses, you're gonna factor that in. So as you're determining your fee, in fact, let me just put that word back up on the screen. As you're determining your fee, you have to factor in what is it going to cost you to fly. Now, I'm not going to change the fee every time I go out. I'm going ballpark. I know that between the flight, the hotel, if particularly if I'm there for one day, and the rental car and my meals, that's about $1,000, right? Certain places it's going to be more. Like if I'm traveling international, then I have an international fee, which is not the same as my domestic fee, right? Because internationally, those hotels are going to cost more. So I'm gonna factor that in. But let me say domestic on this. So I know that it's going to be roughly ballpark $1,000. A lot of cases it's going to be less because a lot of flights are 200 and change, 300 and change, right? Hotel $100 and change, car $100 and change or less. So that's going to be less than 1,000. So it's all going to balance out after as you go through your year or as you go through your month. So I'm factoring in my mind, it's $1,000. So now as I determine my fee, I factored in my expenses. Now you might ask, but why the separation? Here's why. I'm gonna get way ahead of myself. Your taxes. Imagine that you have a fee and your client pays all your expenses. The bulk of your expenses for the year are going to be your travel expenses. Like how many computers you going to buy throughout the course of a year, right? Because that's your big ticket item right there, your a computer. Well, you're going to buy a computer what every maybe 4 or 5 years, right? So what other big ticket item do you have? Website? I mean, how often you going to get a new website, right? Printer? How often you going to get a printer? And that's not a lot of money. So your big ticket expense is travel, not a camera, not a computer, not even your expenses on the people you hire. Your big ticket expense is your travel. So watch this. Imagine you have the client just take care of the travel and pay it. Then here's my question to you. What is your tax write-off? Let that marinate for a second. What is your tax write-off? You have none. You have an adapter for your phone, right? Your monthly website fee. You know that's nah. That means when it's tax season, all your money is going to the IRS. All your money. You got to write off them expenses. So therefore, I factor in those expenses into my fee, and that becomes my write-off. Now I'm gonna let you in on something. During the pandemic, I made more money during the pandemic than I make on the road. Can you believe that? And charging less. My pandemic fees, I mean, my virtual fees now are more now than they were back then because no one knew how to price them back then. So I was only charging $3,000 for a presentation, but I was doing between 3 and 5 presentations a day because of time zones, and I didn't have to travel anywhere. So during that pandemic, I was making like $15,000 a day. Yeah, I said it right, a day. Right. So I was making, I mean, any given month, I'm clearing. You do the math, man. I feel ashamed telling y'all that much money on here. Right. I was making that kind of money during the pandemic. Right. I was coming down here, sitting at my computer and talking all day and making money that was crazy. But guess what? Tax season came. What were my expenses? Zero. I didn't have any expenses. What are my expenses to come downstairs and talk on my computer from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night? I got nothing. So that's why you fold your expenses into your fee, right? So let's go back to contracts. So that would be in your contract that you have that fee. Expenses handled by you, by I put the company. So um who arranges my travel? Principal Kafele Consultant LLC. Who pays for my travel? Principal Kafele LLC. So just give me that lump sum, and that's in the contract, right? And then it says there's a clause at the bottom that the contract is not valid until the client's signature appears. That's key. Now, I'm probably being reckless in saying this to you, but sometimes the client, they want you bad. They called you. Sometimes they don't even remember to send the contract back, so it's never signed by them. But we know it's good. But I shouldn't be telling you that. The seasoned speakers, they know what I'm talking about. They know, right? But a lot of time they ain't thinking about signing no contract. It's good. We know it, right? So, but that's for the veteran people. You rookies out there, pretend I didn't say that. Get that signature and make sure you lock that client in, right? To the veterans out here, some of us, we don't even deal in contracts. Email is good, right? But that's for the people who are seasoned and they know we out here, they know us and all that kind of thing. We don't engage in that extra burden of a contract all the time, especially if it's a small school district. If it's one of them big districts, then a lot of time they have their own contract, which is lengthy. But a lot of times, in little small rural districts, it's like we tell them like the email, that's fine. But again, you didn't hear that because y'all can't handle that. You rookies, you newbies, you neophytes, get that contract signature. All right, let's go. I know some of my veteran colleagues, they probably laughing saying, "Oh, Kafele, he know what's up," right? So listen, let's go. This video is coming much longer than I planned for it to be, y'all. I'm only on number 6. It's almost an hour, and I got 23. So let me talk a little faster. Your invoice really is not much to say there. Between I could put invoice / quotes. Some clients want a quote. Most clients will ask me for a fee schedule. So have a fee schedule, right? Which indicates what your fees are for a keynote, what your fees are for a half day, what your fees are for a full day, what your fees are for multiple bookings on one contract. Like I got a discount when you book me for 3 engagements on one contract, not for 2 though. What's your fee if you do a breakout session with a keynote? What's your fee if you do 2 breakouts in a keynote? What's your fee if you do 3 breakouts in a keynote? You got to figure all that out. and you use the same rationale as I did when I talked about fees, right? A breakout session, of course, you're not going to charge your full keynote fee if you do a breakout. But for me, I'm not doing a breakout for less than $1,000. Not me, right? And if they ask me to do three, I mean, depending on, I mean, a lot of times I'll have the first breakout. I'll throw that into the keynote just because I want the keynote that bad. But if I'm gonna do two keynotes, then I'm gonna charge that extra 1,000 on top of my fee. They ask me to do three breakouts, and you're gonna pay for them too. I'll throw the third one in. But other speakers, I know they're not going to throw one in. They're going to charge for each breakout, and I don't know what they charge. Maybe they charge them more than 1,000, but I do 1,000 per breakout session after the keynote, right? So all that's in the invoice, right? So the quote will say what I'm going to do. That mirrors the contract, and then the invoice will say what I did. And most of the time, no, about maybe half your clients will send you a purchase order. You got to have that purchase order number on the invoice after the work is done. Now, some clients, they'll ask you for an invoice before the work is done because their district doesn't use purchase orders. All right, fine. But you need to find all that out, because if it turns out that it is a district that uses purchase orders, but somebody fell asleep at the wheel and didn't send you a purchase order, and you wait and you waiting for pay because you sent them an invoice, well, that pay is probably not going to ever come because they required purchase orders, but somebody didn't send it. So now you got to call them and ask, like, well, like, is there anything else you need? Like, is it a purchase order that I should have received? All that kind of stuff. And that's what slows the process. But that's because you're dealing with a client that's sleeping at the wheel and they're not getting it done for you. So to get ahead of that, ask them up front. Will you be issuing a purchase order? Right? And then you look at the purchase order and see, do you have to mail it in, or can you send it back to the client, or do they have an email address on there, like an accounts payable address that you just email it to them? Like, you got to find all that out, right? So there's a lot there to the invoice. It's not just as simple as writing up an invoice, right? And hopefully you all know where to find invoice templates, like Microsoft Office, and same with contracts, man. Just Google, there's a lot of different templates for a contract. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. They're there, right? But again, I use a very simple contract. It's simple, one pager. That's all. All right. Others may have something a little bit more elaborate. I've been in this thing too long. And I don't have them issues with people violating the contract, and that's just not part of my reality, right? So you got to figure out what's happening in your world, and then you'll know how much teeth you need to put into your contract. Your expenses, that's a big one. You've got to be organized. Let's go back to those words, structured and organized, right? So when I get home from a trip, then I go on my computer and I list all the expenses for that trip. So like usually I'll compile. I won't do like for each trip. I'll do for each week. So let's say I did 4 engagements in a week, 3 engagements in a week, 5 engagements in a week, 1 engagement in a week, whatever it is. Then I have this expense chart, for lack of a better word, and I'll label my expenses. So what was my airfare, right? So airfare would be written right there next to it, about 3 tabs over. It'll say how much was my airfare for that week. I'll list the cities I was in that week, right? That'll be above it. And then underneath airfare, then underneath that lodging, then underneath that rental car, then underneath that meals, then underneath that Uber, because I take an Uber to the airport and I take an Uber home, right? So all that's there, right? And any other ancillary expenses related to the business, that I'll have that there. Maybe I parked in a garage and they I had to pay $100 to park overnight, right? Because we know that exists. Then that's going to go on that expense account, that expense charge as well, that chart as well. So then I'll total it, and that'll tell me what were my expenses for that week, right? And then at the end of the year, as I do that all year long, now I can just total up each category, and it'll tell me what my expenses were for the month, for the week, for the 6 months, right? Or I can do it quarterly. I typically don't. I do it by the 6 months, although I'll get into that with taxes. But I do it for every 6 months, and then at the end of the year, I have it all there. It's already there. I don't have to go back and calculate because I've been doing it all year long, right? and it's there. Now you use Excel, it'll do it for you, right? So whatever software you use. I'm so old school that I probably shouldn't even be admitting this to you, but I do my own calculations. I just don't use I just don't rely on Excel. Don't tell me why. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. I'm old school. I'm just an old soul who's old school with a whole lot of things in my life, not just this. But the bottom line is you do what's best for you, but make sure that you are tallying your expenses throughout the course of the year, right? By the week, I might add. Don't let it pile up and now you wasting time getting caught up on a month's worth of expenses as I have done, but I try not to, right? So that's expenses. Um Versus, and I should have I'm gonna type this in right now, man. I'm just gonna do this because there ain't nothing formal about anything I do. So let's put this right here. Um there we go. Hope I spelled it right. If not, we'll come back to it. Um Expenses, yeah, honorariums. I have another document that I list every as soon as someone books me, it breaks down my schedule, so to speak, all my bookings by the month. So it'll list all of my January bookings, all my February bookings, all the way to December, because people book me a year in advance. So as bookings come in, then I go to that document which is labeled honorariums, just like the other one is labeled travel expenses. Then I got another document for non-travel expenses. But this one, so you got the honorarium, and then every time a booking comes in, it puts the city, and then tab maybe three tabs over the amount of money that they're going to pay, right? Because I might be doing a keynote, I might be doing a full day, I might be doing a half day, I might be doing a full day plus evening, because I do a lot of that where I'm speaking to the community at night or the parents at night. So, and then I'll total it up, and then I'll have a subtotal of how much I'm going to make for that month. So I know well in advance what I'm going to make during any given month. And then, of course, if someone comes in and books me later on, and it just adds more money in terms of my honorariums. But I have all that. So then at the end of a month, I can compare my honorariums to my expenses, my monthly, and see how much profit I made for the month. Right? Man, I'm giving y'all so much, man. Give me my $100,000, y'all. Nah, it's coming, y'all. It's coming. It's coming. Right. So again, I know my profit every month. I know my profit every engagement. But I don't, I've been doing this so long. I don't need to keep. I don't need to know that. I know what it is, but I just don't need to give that kind of attention. But with the new folks on here, you need to know that. You need to know what was my profit this week. What was my profit these past 2 weeks? What was my profit this month? Right. So what was my profit for the past 2 months, 3 months, for the first quarter, for the first half of the year, for the first 3 quarters, and ultimately for the entire year? You need to know that, because you need to know if you're making a profit or not, right? And then we're gonna factor in the taxes in a little while. I'm not there yet, but we're gonna factor that in as well, right? So then, and again, the seasoned people, you hire people to do this for you. Maybe you want to stay on the creative side. You're not going to do all this. I do this, but I got it down to a science because of my planning and organization and time management, that it doesn't take me a lot of time. I do this thing with my eyes closed, man. This doesn't take me a lot of time. So again, expenses, honorarium, right? And then that leads to me creating a profit and loss statement. So the profit loss statement is not complete until the end of the year, the calendar year. So up top, it'll have all my revenues, a total though, not all that listing. That's in your honorarium, right? So so the profit loss statement will have my revenue. So that'll be all the money I made speaking, all the money I made in book sales, and any other money I may have made. I don't know what else. I can't think off the top of my head, but some years there's some other things I make money. But my royalties from books and my revenues from speaking, and then that's my revenue, right? Then underneath My expenses. So my travel expenses, my other business expenses, because you got website fees you paying throughout the year. You got printer cartridges. I mean, it's a million things you spending money on that you might take for granted, but you want to total that up because you want to have those tax write-offs, right? So then I'll have those expenses, and they're listed. They're lengthy. It's not just travel. There's a lot of things I spend money on. A camera. I got like I have about six webcams. Well, those are expenses, right? Various softwares that I buy. Those are expenses, right? And just anything that's related to that business is an expense. You want to list that because you want to be able to write off as much as you can, right? So don't take anything for granted. So then, therefore, I got two sets of expenses. I got my travel expenses, and then I got my other business expenses, right? So, and that may include if you're paying somebody on the side, whatever it is, you want to have them in there. Now, of course, if you're paying somebody, then there may be some tax issues that you want to concern yourself with as well to make sure that you're within the law, right? So I don't want to mislead anybody on that. So some people I know they go under the table, but I'm not going. We're not going to get into that on here because I don't want to jam myself up, nor do I want to jam anybody else up. So just do right, but realize that if you're paying somebody, that's an expense as well, right? It could turn out to be a salary, but again, you got to learn the laws, right? I don't have to know that law because that's not something that I do. I do everything myself. But I also have a tax accountant, which we'll get to in a couple. We're almost there. So that profit loss statement, now you know. Now you know you could do that for the week, you could do that for the month, but ultimately you got to do it for the year because when you start divvying up, what your taxes are going to be. And of course, I have a tax accountant, but I take to him, that's not his job. My job is this profit loss. So I know before I even walk into his office what my tax liability is going to be. I know it. He's just putting the final touches on it. He's doing the actual work, right? In terms of in terms of the tax return. But for me, oh, I'm not walking in there surprised about anything. I know what my tax liability is going to be, and you need to know what yours is going to be. Let's go next one. Well, we right there. We right there. Taxes, federal and state. Whew. This is the part. My first year, this is the part that had me thinking I need to go back to being a principal because I didn't always know what them taxes were going to be. I had to study the law. I had to study the calculations, and I had to figure all that out. So as I figured it out, then I knew. But that first year, my accountant told me, man, I'm like, huh? It's a lot of you could best believe, especially when once you're doing well and you doing your thing, you giving a third of your money to the government. And that's depending on what bracket you fall in, but it's going to be somewhere up there. A little, as a matter of fact, maybe a little bit more than a third, depending on what bracket you fall into. But let me break this down for you for those of you that don't know. So you got that federal tax, right? So that is what it is, depending on what bracket you fall in, but you're probably going to be somewhere around a third. But you got something else in there that sometimes people don't know. They don't know about this one. It's called your self-employment tax. Yeah. That self-employment tax, because see, you still paying Social Security and Medicare, and that's what your self-employment tax is. So your self-employment tax is 15.3% of your net earnings, right? But there's a little. I don't want you to just go and calculate 15.3 because there's a whole scale in there, right? So so it's not cut and dry because you go and just calculate it, you'll get scared and you'll stay on your day job. So no, there's a way that's calculated. So it breaks down into Social Security, 12.4% based on 2023 and 2023 tax year, and 2.9% for Medicare, right? So that's on top of your federal taxes. So you pay your federal tax, but then you got this little extra thing called self-employment tax, and ain't no way out of that. You have to pay it. In fact, but the thing is, you want it because at the time when you're ready to declare your Social Security, or when you need to go to the hospital after retirement age, when you declare your retirement, You want that money to be there for you. That's your money. You earn that money. That's your money. Right. So don't try to figure out ways to circumvent it. That's just and don't be too mad about it, because it's gonna help you later on. I had to figure that out later, but as I got older, I figured all that out. Right. So you got your federal tax, you got your self-employment tax, then you got your state tax, right? And that's another knot, as they call it. So every tax season, it hurts. It hurts. I'm not going to tell you what I'm making, all that kind of stuff, but I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. I will tell you that. I'll say that much. It hurts because in my mind, I was flying all over the country, not being home with my wife, and doing all this driving and flying and speaking, and now I got to give all this back. Yeah, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. That's why you got to strive to make the big money. But let's go back to the sub question now. When can I quit my job? After hearing all this, maybe not yet, right? Because I got another knot for you coming up, man. So just bear with me. So those are your tax. Oh, I need to throw this at you. The IRS wants a quarterly estimate. So every 3 months they want you submitting some money, right? So there's some ways that not around it, but some ways you could do that. Like some people, I'm not going to give you what I do, but I'm going to say this to you. Some people will pay the quarterly tax. Others will just pay the penalty during tax season. It depends on what you want to do. If you don't mind paying the penalty will be, depending on what you make, the penalty could be $1,000, it could be $2,000, it could be $3,000. It's based on what you make. But some people just opt to pay the penalty because they don't want to send those estimates in and do all that extra work every quarter, 4 times a year. So that's up to you. That's your decision, right? I'm not going to tell you which way I go, but I do pay my taxes. I'll just leave that right there. Right. Let's go. Next one. We getting there, y'all. We getting there. This is a quick one. W-9. Your clients are going to ask you for a W-9, all of them. Right? They're all going to ask you for a W-9. So make sure that I have one in the computer. So I got my W-9. I don't have to fill out a new one. I just email it back to them along with the quote or my fee schedule or or the contract, right? So make sure you have yourself a W-9, and you determine, you got to determine what kind of business you are. I'll get into this when I get to LLC though. But in that W-9, it asks you, are you a sole proprietor, your LLC, your corporation, your S corporation? You got to figure out what kind of business you're going to be, and you got to learn the tax laws or have somebody that can advise you so that you can figure out what's best for you. What's best for you might not be best for someone else. You can go to someone and ask them what they do, but that may be good for them, but it may not be good for you, right? So you consider all that. Here's one I kind of threw in there: bids. And the bids, I don't do a lot of bids because bids, man, that's a lot of work. And sometimes I'm like, yo, let me just get with another client for that date. I don't feel like doing all this. And I mean, that's me. I'm just being honest with you. Other times, if it's a district I feel like I really want to work with, then I'll go ahead and fill out all them forms, man. It could be like 50 pages. And I say that without exaggeration. And, you competing against others in terms of who's got the lowest bid. So I like those districts that say they have the luxury, the latitude to circumvent the bid process through what's called a sole source letter. And I said that in another video, but it wasn't in this context. SOLE, sole source letter. So I'll complete a sole source letter saying that I'm the only person on the planet that can deliver this. No one else can deliver this, right? So like you see the book on the shelf, Assistant Principal Identity. Can nobody else can do that. If they do it, then they pretty much have stolen my content, right? They've plagiarized. They've taken my content, put it in their presentation, and getting paid for it. That's my work there. Wrong side. That's my work there, right? So I complete a sole source letter, and that says to them, Oh, only Principal Kafele, only Baruti Kafele can do this presentation, according to the way he wrote the book. And that way, that's their way of getting around the bid process. And now they bring me on in. Everybody can't do that. Some of these big giant districts, they you pretty much have to go through the bid. But some of the smaller districts, this is, I'm talking district. I'm saying education. So those of you who are not even in the education space, then that may not even be applicable to you. So you got to look at what fits you, right? Enough on the bid. Let's go here. LLC. I am a limited liability corporation, LLC. Principal Kafele Consulting, LLC. And I chose that because I want to be that limited liability company, limited liability company. If I said corporation, that's probably the old school word, limited liability company. And that way you can't sue the crap out of me, right? You can only sue me as far as the business goes, but you can't sue me on a personal level. And that's why I go that way, right? See, if you're a sole proprietor without the LLC, they could sue you too. You ain't got nothing left, right? I don't want to be that. So I'm a limited liability company. You can only sue the business, but you can't sue me personally, right? But I'm not going to do things to allow someone to sue me. So, that's important. At least I hope that. But you have to make the decision. Maybe you'll be a corporation. You got to look at the tax laws and what a corporation is and decide if this advantageous for you. Is it better for you? Does it enhance your brand? Does it save you tax liability? You got to consider all that. An S corporation, a partnership, a sole proprietor. I'm not going to give you that kind of advice. You figure out based on what different structures, what different entities are out there, and you decide what it is you want to be. Right? Let's go back to my sub question, which I'm going to frequently now. When can I quit my day job? See, it's not just a matter of I want to be a speaker. I speak well. Everyone tells me I'm a gifted orator. Let me get out there. Nah, it's a lot to consider. All these hours. I mean, this is each video is at least an hour 45, all of them, right? So we're talking what, 7, 8 hours of content, 5 videos, maybe more. I'm not doing the math up here. Maybe it's 8 hours or more. It's a lot to consider. And this is 8 hours of me talking. Imagine I did this as a seminar and gave you an opportunity to ask me a zillion questions. Or imagine I did it as a live stream, which I decided I didn't want to do because I didn't want people on here watching that have no interest in this, right? And I didn't want to, so, but imagine it's a seminar and we can talk, and I'm talking like 8 hours approximately. Then once you factor in all your questions, your comments or concerns, then we talking at least 16 hours of content. Right? That's a lot of content. That's a lot to consider because you would be learning from the other people's questions and concerns. Right? So they may be asking questions that I haven't mentioned anything about. So it's a lot there. So there's a lot to consider. Right? So you have to for me, LLC. Let's go. Number 13. Woo! That's a big one. Liability insurance. Right? A lot of clients want that. They want a $1 million policy, right? That screen just skipped. They want a $1 million policy. So what that means, it doesn't mean you paying $1 million for a policy now, but it does mean you have to take out a policy with an insurance company. So, I have an insurance company. I have no problem telling you who I use because I like them, State Farm. And so the way it works, because most clients don't want a liability insurance certificate. They don't want it, but a lot do. So they'll reach out to me and they'll say, "Will you send us a contract, an invoice, and a insurance certificate, a liability insurance certificate?" So then I get on the phone or send an email and call my contact person, and I say to him, "Here's the information. Here's where I'm going to speak. Here's the date. Here's what they need, because some people may want additional insured, right? So that's a little something extra, and then he'll, they want, their address in terms of being a certificate holder. It is a little box on the certificate, so that who they are, their name and address goes there, and then he'll send me that usually within 24 hours, and then I send that to the client. So I don't have to talk money to the insurance company because I pay a annual fee. It's not a lot of money. It's just a few $100s. Not a lot of money at all. And in the scheme of things, but that's another expense I have that goes in my expenses. So now I just call him, email him. We don't even have to talk on the phone. Just email. Here's what I need. Send this to me. He'll send it within a day, 24 hours, and then I send that to the client. But you can't. I wouldn't even get into this business without having having liability insurance, because some clients are going to ask you for it. They're going to ask you, so you get it, and that way you have it, and now you don't have to spend all this time getting a new account with the company, because that could take time. They got a lot of forms you got to complete, a lot of questions they got to answer. Get that out the way. But that couples with this one, professional insurance. That can be a real pain as well. So so the liability insurance, I think, is obvious. The company, the company, the organization, the school district, whomever, they're covered if you get hurt on their premises, right? That's why they want $1 million policy, right? So their certificate, they're covered if you get hurt. The crazy thing for me with this is virtual presentations tend to want liability insurance. And I'm like, I always question it, like, why? I'm not coming to your space. I'm gonna be home. But they thinking if I get hurt while sitting here at my desk, they just want to, paranoia. They just want to be covered. So I'm like, geez. It doesn't cost me more. It's just a pain that I got to call up the insurance company to say to them, I need a liability certificate, even though I'm not going to be there. Right. So, they do it. And that's that. But the professional insurance, I remember the first time someone asked me for that. And I'm like, man, because I didn't feel like researching insurance companies. But what it is they don't want to be held liable if you came in there with some plagiarized presentation. And we know people do that. They copy their stuff from other people. Y'all know, like, this is February 17, 2024. So in this season, because see, someone could see this video like 10 years from now, and it's not current anymore. But in this current time, and this comedian, I'm not going to throw names because I don't want YouTube to flag me for anything. But the comedian that said that the other comedians were stealing content, right? So, well, that happens in the speaker game, right? So, in the speaker industry, that people could literally take someone else's content, and then the person they took the content from sees that, and they see it happened at your venue, and then they want to sue you because you're using material that came from this third party, right? So they request professional insurance, and that way they're covered in case you in there and you using somebody else's content and claiming it as your own. They're covered. So you get yourself a professional insurance policy. And again, this is not a lot of money, man. It might be 100 and some change. It's not a lot of money. It's just that, it's something, another step of things you have to do. So get yourself a professional insurance policy as well. Next, here's the big one. Remember I told you that the one of your expenses, and this was on the professional side, was travel. Well, here's your other big knot right here: health insurance. If you have a family of, say, you got your spouse and a child, at least one, you could bank on you're going to be paying about $2,000 a month in health insurance. So now here you are, you trying to set your fee, right? Well, you got this big knot. Your health insurance could be more than your mortgage. Health insurance is a lot of money. And I'm 63, and when I turn 65, I'm coming off. I'm coming off of this. I could get my Social Security now. You could get that at 62, I guess. But I ain't touching. Yeah, 62, but I'm not touching that. But when I turn 65, I'm saying goodbye health insurance, right? Goodbye. Good riddance, right? And I'm going on Medicare, right? So I got I got less than 2 years, right? So, but right now, yeah, when you have a family, now I don't have to pay for my kids anymore, but it's still me and my wife, and that's a lot of money. It's because it increases every year. For those of you that have been getting benefits on your job all year, and you don't keep up with that kind of stuff, it increases every year. So it was 2000 something when I had my kids, But now it's so high, I'm back at 2000 with just my wife and I. I'm back there. We there, right? So health insurance is high. So you have to consider that. You can't, you once you making good money, that marketplace thing with affordable health care, that you're not going to be eligible for that, right? And don't mess around and think you could circumvent it and lie on your figures and all that. It'll catch up to you, and then you got problems on your hands. So do know as you can. Hey, Kafele, when can I quit my job? Well, can you cover your health insurance? Can you cover your mortgage? Can you cover all them expenses I talked about before? Your car, your child's tuition, or your child's clothing and meals and their toys, and all that kind of stuff that you have to buy for children, right? And saving money for them to go to college one day. So let's say your children don't get scholarships, right? Are you going to be able to take care of your children, or you got to look your children in the eye and say, I don't have it? Right. And now your children can't go to college because you don't have it, and there's not enough scholarship money out there, all that kind of stuff, right? Because that's real world, real talk, right? When I was making all these speaker fees, which I still do, but I'm gonna just let you in on this. I don't have to tell you all this stuff, but I'm gonna tell you this. I had my children in the back of my mind every time I stepped on one of them stages. I kid you not. I'm doing these speeches, of course, for the work itself, but I'm doing these speeches so that I can have my kids come out of college with no debt. I paid cash for my three children's college tuition. They all graduated. I paid cash, right? Um, they had no debt when they got out of college. That's three kids, speaker fees. So I'm saying that, I guess I'm saying two things. On the one hand, I'm saying you got to make enough money to cover your expenses. But on the other hand, I'm saying if you come into this profession and you do it right, a lot of the things I've said on this video, these 5 videos, you're going to make money. And you'll be able to do the things you want to do in life. You'll be able to live the life you want to live, right? I'm living the life I want. I'm living my best life. I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you what I make, but I'm living my best life. I love life. I got no financial issues, right? I can quit my job, meaning speaking. I can quit today, and I could ride out what I made, ride out my investments until the day I transition. I'm good. I am good. Me and my wife, we good. But here's the thing. I hope nobody interprets that as bragging. I'm telling you that I work my butt off. I work my butt off as a speaker to get to where I am today. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do in these 5 videos. Work your butt off. Go hard. Have self-care and self-preservation, but go hard. Be smart so that you can retire when I can retire right now. Right? I can retire. And I'm gonna talk to you a little bit more about that in this next bullet point. But your health insurance, just know. And don't try to be one. Don't try to outsmart the system and no, forget the system. Don't try to outsmart your body and play Russian roulette with you and your family. Oh, I ain't gonna get health insurance. Huh? So what happens when someone gets severely sick? What happens if there's a tragedy in your life or one of your loved ones? No insurance? So you're gonna pay out of pocket? I had a heart attack. Most of you that follow my work, you would know that. My insurance only covered Jersey because that's how this crazy system is set up. I had to fight to have that covered because the surgeon sent me a bill. This was not the hospitalization. This was the surgeon sent me a bill for $100,000. Then the hospital sent me a bill for $100,000. That heart attack cost me $200,000. My insurance was for New Jersey. But guess what? I'm a fighter. And I fought them. Matter of fact, I went off professionally. I'm shifting in my chair on this one. I went off professionally and I said to them, what you think? I was going to pick and choose what state I had a heart attack in? Are you kidding me? I had it in Florida. I was working. I was on a stage doing a keynote address. What you think? I was going to tell my heart, wait till I get back to Jersey and then damn near kill me? Nah, I was in Florida. I was in Miami, and that's when my heart decided to have an attack. So insurance company, you gonna cover this, even though my insurance is in New Jersey. Guess what? They told me to document and all this mess. I did. They paid all of that. I ain't paid for none of that. I ain't paying for no heart attack, and I didn't. But I'm sharing that with you to say, know the laws, know what your insurance covers, right? And chances are it's not going to cover you out of state. But something extreme, that was extreme. That heart attack could have killed me. I'm not paying no 200,000. I'm not paying 100,000. I'm not paying 50,000. I ain't paying 10,000. I ain't paying $500. I had that thing out of state, and that insurance company covered that thing. But see, that boils down to how assertive you might be, right? I ain't paying for that, and I didn't pay for it, right? But know what you're getting yourself into, because most of the time insurance covers where you live. But if you're a speaker, guess what? You live in, let's say you're a speaker and you're a successful speaker, that means you live in 50 states. That means your health could go anywhere. It could go on an airplane, it could go in a hotel, it could go in a rental car, it could go on that stage, it could go when you're sitting in that auditorium waiting for them to call you to the stage. It could happen anywhere. And you got to know that if something happens, you have health insurance that's going to cover you. That matters. I'm almost done, y'all. Right? So that I think I exhausted that. So let's go to this next one. Investments. I got to say this one without, I don't want to come across wrong. If you see, it's not just making money. You got to know how to invest your money. But well, I'm stuttering because there's so many things I want to say with this. I work too hard to put my money in high risk investments. I'm not doing it. But it's low risk investments out there that can make you money. I make six figures on investments, y'all. That's why I said to you, I could retire today. I'm gonna make my money. While I'm talking in this computer right now to y'all, which you'll ultimately see this, my money's at work. My money's at work. If I go on social media and like something happens in the world and I'm ticked off and I make an emotional post, didn't give it thought, and I might as well say to y'all, I don't know if I said this in a previous video or not. I probably did, but make sure that you think before you post, because if you put that bad post, the world could cancel you, to use that modern word. The clients could find out what you said, and you made an emotional post, and it really doesn't reflect your character, but emotionally in the moment it did, and you put it out there, and then once you got yourself back to where you need to be, that post is gone, man. You could delete it, but people saw it already. So I say to speakers all the time, if you slip and make an emotional post that undermines your credibility, you better have that money invested the right way so that you can still make money. My money's invested. I'm good, man. If I make a bad post, or maybe it wasn't bad, but it was received wrong, I'm still gonna be good, man. I told you, man. 6 figures a year on investments, man. That's just interest. That's just interest. Now keep in mind, let's go back to that tax conversation. You're gonna be paying some taxes on that interest. Don't think all that money's yours, because it's not. Because depending on how much money you take out of your investments, that's how much then your tax liability is factored on how much money you withdraw. Not all the money you got sitting there. It's deferred as long as it's sitting in there, right? But once you decide I want my money, then you'll pay taxes just on what you take out. But the bottom line is, don't make all that money and the only place it's sitting is the bank. Yeah, I keep money in the bank, right? But you got to make sure, don't put all your money in there. Don't put the bulk of your money in there. And don't be scared of people that don't know anything about the stock market and they give you bad advice and say, oh man, the market's down. Don't put your money in there. It ain't gonna stay down. I see that thing, man. That Dow be red for weeks. I ain't worried about it because I know that Dow Jones is coming back, man. I know that because I know how the market works. I don't stress over that. So I won't even pay attention to that. I ain't looking at going on websites, investment sites, and looking at my money every day. That'll freak you out. It's like a 401k, 403b. That money, so the economy goes down, inflation hits. It's coming back. You don't need that unless you one that needs that money all the time. But if you speaking, if you out here doing all this speaking, then you bringing in checks every week. They may not be in your mailbox every week, right? But or even if it's electronic, whatever it is, but you making money. It's coming. It's coming, right? So, but invest your money. It doesn't have to be in investments. It could be in real estate. It could be in anything. There's a million things you can invest your money in, but invest your money. Let your money make money for you. Not just you put the money in the bank and you ain't making no money. You ain't making no money. You put $1 million in the bank, what you gonna make at the end of the year with that? About less than $1,000, right? In interest, right? So you're not gonna make no money in the bank, but put that money somewhere where you can make money, right? That way, when you're ready to when you're ready to let this go, I don't know if I'm ever gonna let this go, but when you're ready to let this go, you ready to retire, you ready to do something else with your life, your money in there making money. Your money doing the work for you. Be smart. But then let's look at this. IRAs. I love IRAs. That's my thing, right? Individual retirement annuities. That's my thing, man. And see, as a business person, my man, my accountant is actually my boy, right? I don't know if he want me putting his name on here or not, so I won't. But my accountant is actually my boy. Well, he does have his own company. What's the name? Robert Patrick Company, right? And don't call him, no, because he doesn't he does big stuff, right? He's not gonna be your tax accountant. I promise you he won't be. But he's my boy. When I say boy, we've been friends since second grade. Second grade. So he turned me on to something called SEP, SEP IRAs. SEP IRA. And what a SEP IRA does, you might want to write this down. It allows me to take, the government says you can put like it always increases. So in 2023 tax year, you can take $61,000. I think it's 61, might be 64. It's one of them. I haven't done my taxes yet. So you can take, let's say 61. You can take $61,000 and put that in a SEP IRA. And now you only pay taxes on the balance, right? So whatever your tax liability is, you subtract $61,000 from it, put that in the SEP IRA, and pay no taxes on that SEP IRA until you withdraw the money. And I'm sure you're not going to withdraw $61,000 at one time. So I've been putting money in SEP IRAs. Like, it increases. Like, when I first got into this business, it was like, I don't know, $50,000, maybe less. And it kept increasing in increments each year. So every year I put it, whatever the SEP IRA, so let's say it was 50,000 one year, I put 50. The next year I put another, it went up 55. Next year, 60. I mean, no, it didn't go to that high. 51, 52, 53. So every year I put money in the SEP IRA, right? So now here we are, 2024. So for 23 tax year, it says 61, I think. So I'll put that in this year. So now my tax liability will be minus the 61,000. I'm not going to pay a penny on that 61,000 until I withdraw the money. But chances are, hopefully, I'll never withdraw it, and then that'll be left for my children, my beneficiaries, right? My hope is that I never have to touch that money, never. Right. So that's how you got to be thinking. You got to be thinking not just about you, but you got to be thinking about your loved ones. Right. So, and I know that some people don't even want to deal with that as a topic, but it's real. It's real. We ain't here forever. We here for a finite period of time. So what you leaving for your loved ones? You got to think about that. So that's just one investment. That SEP IRA. There's so many other investments. There are other annuities out there beyond the SEP would have a higher interest rate. And then you want to make sure, like, you talk to your financial planner, you talk to your whoever you have. I have something called, and I'll share this with you because I don't mind. I think this is important. I have something called downside protection. Some of y'all probably heard of that before. That means when the stock market goes bad, it can't take all my money. It's a cap. So downside protection is on, and it's only like it's like that decrease is only like percentage points. It's not a lot. So once it hits there, then it can't touch my money. So a bad stock market is never going to wipe me out because I got downside protection on everything. So that's something you want to research. Don't call me asking because I can't take all them calls. Just go on the internet. That's what they made it for. Do your research, right, and find out what downside protection is, and then you start calling around different investment companies and see how you're going to invest your money. Let's go back to my question. Principal Kafele, when can I quit my job, my day job? I don't know. You got all this down? I'm at 1 hour and 40 minutes, man. Look at all this content. These are things. I bet there's people watching right now, and you like, man, I ain't know this stuff, man. You're a blessing to me, Principal Kafele. I hear that all the time, man. And it's a blessing when people tell me that, right? So let's go. Next one. As a matter of fact, for the remaining bullet points here, these are like some extras I threw in here. The bulk of this presentation was everything I've shown you thus far. Now I threw in some little bonus stuff, right? Number 18, speaking to children. Like, you're a speaker and your primary audience is children. Let me caution you on that one. You're not gonna make a lot of money speaking to kids, right? It's a noble thing to do, but they're not paying top dollar. Those of you who are in the education space, or those of you who just want to go into schools and talk to young people, you're not necessarily in the professional learning space, but you want to talk to children. Well, let me tell you this: you're not gonna make a lot of money talking to children. Just know that. I don't want to discourage that. If that's what you want to do, then you better make sure you're talking to a whole lot of kids throughout the week, right? In order for you to make a money that's going to cover all your expenses and your taxes, right? You want to make sure that you making that kind of money. Or don't limit yourself to children. Make sure that you're speaking to other categories of people, adults. Because that's where you're gonna make your money. You make your money with adults. You don't make money with children. You can go to a school, and I'm just going to throw a round figure. This is not my fee. This is a round figure. You can go to a school and they pay you $8,000 to speak to the adults, right? For a seminar, a keynote, whatever it is, a conference, a district, whatever it is. But then you speak in that same district to the children, they might say $500 per assembly. See, they might say $1,000 per assembly. So you're not going to make that kind of money. If you're really good, maybe you could go a little higher, but it won't be on a consistent basis. No way. No way. Not talking to children. So you might need to mix that up. So make sure that if your primary focus is children, you better figure out a way to talk to adults too. So you better come up with some content, some topics that'll be worthwhile for adults, but that you have credibility in talking to the adults about, right? That matters. You might be talking to children. Maybe you can do some turnkeying where you teach the adults what it is you talk to the children in terms of how they could implement some of the things that you talk about, right? But you will not make much money if your primary focus is just children. It's not going to happen. Next, speaker bureaus. They're good. I use speaker bureaus, but not a lot. Speakers bureaus, that should say speakers bureaus, or I have speaker. Let me fix that in real time. So bear with me a second. Speakers. There we go. Where we at? Here we go. Speakers bureaus. So I would say 5% of my business is speakers bureaus, right? That's all, just 5%. I guess if I pursued them more, I've had speakers bureaus say to me, "Can we have you exclusively?" Then I'd make a lot of money or get a lot of business with speakers bureaus. But ain't nobody gonna have me exclusively. Oh heck no, no. So so when they call, because some clients they don't They have contracts with Speakers Bureau. So when they bring in a speaker, they have to use a bureau. They can't go to me. So Speakers Bureau is fine. But I'm gonna tell you this, because a lot of people they fall short with Speakers Bureaus because they don't know how to use them. You don't take a cut to use a Speakers Bureau. Let me say it again. You don't take a cut to use a Speakers Bureau. You tell the Speakers Bureau your fee. And then when they go to the client, they'll just have to increase the fee in order for them to make a profit. Right? Do I need to say that slower for anybody? I felt someone's spirit. I do. When you use a Speakers Bureau, you don't cut your fee for the bureau, despite what they may say to you. You tell them this is my fee. So now, if your fee is $8,000, which that's not my fee, by the way, but if your fee is $8,000, then they may have to charge $10,000 so that they can get $2,000 off of it. They're not going to make what you make. That's not what they do. But you let them know your firm. My fee is my fee. I've never worked at a discount for a Speakers Bureau. No, I work for my fee. Sometimes the Speakers Bureau, they because they good, they professional, they know their stuff. They come to me and say, I can give you more than your fee. I say, oh, well, give it to me, right? So they'll give me more than my fee. That's fine, right? And then they make their profit on top of my fee. But my point in this is two things. Number one, don't rely on Speakers Bureau 100% because you'll have an empty calendar. They got so many speakers, man. They don't necessarily need you. They got so many speakers. So don't get your heart set on that I'm going to be exclusively Speakers Bureaus, right? Unless you got these exclusives and those Speakers Bureaus really love you and they're making money off you. And because I mean I know some people that do very well with Speakers Bureaus. Then I mean if you're that person, but see you're most of the people who see these videos, y'all kind of new. Right. So you're not going to have that unless you some superstar. You done some extraordinary thing. All the media covered you, the internet exploded because of you. And now you're hot, you're a hot commodity. Okay, fine. Those Speakers Bureaus going to be breaking down the door to get to you. But those are extreme situations. Right. So just make sure that you understand how that works with the fee and that you can't make your living off of Speakers Bureaus unless some Speakers Bureaus are going to be calling you like every day, that they got so many different kinds, so many opportunities for you out there, right? You got to do that legwork and get yourself seen. And I told you in all them other videos, 1, 2, 3, and 4, how to do that. So I'm not going to recap that here. Next, and these are just little extras I threw in. I tell you I'm going to 23, so these are extras. Business cards. I got them, but I mean, I keep a few in my wallet. That's old school now, man. People ain't doing that too much these days. If you're a speaker, I mean, have them because you don't know who you're gonna run into. But that closing page on your PowerPoint, that's where all your information is. And you tell your audience, take a picture. You tell them, take a picture of the screen, right? Or you ask them. Because on that closing page, you got your website. Some of y'all might have your email address. I don't, because I don't want people going to the email. I want them to go to the website and see what I got. Then email me, right? So you got that. Some people may have a different logic and say, no, I don't want them to go on the website because then they might not call. They may see everything and decide they don't want you, so that you may feel confident in your salesmanship. So you'll say, no, email me and I will sell on to you what you need to know about me. So there are different schools of thought. My school of thought, go on my website first. And then because if you go on my website, there's already an interest, right? And then they'll email me from there. And then I also have my social media handles on the closing page. So they got that. All my contact information's there. But I also have all the books I wrote for this particular publisher, ASCD, which is 9 books. And then I have my YouTube, my AP and New Principles Academy live stream information. So all my platforms that I air that live stream on, which I did today. Imagine that, y'all. I had 3 guests on, and we went 2.5 hours, and now I'm doing another 2 hours on this video in one day, right? That's dedication, y'all. That's commitment. That's commitment. Somebody might say that's overwork. Nah, that's commitment, man. That's commitment to my craft. But anyway, business cards, yeah, have a few, but you don't need to be ordering like 1,000 cards. I don't think in these days, because now people have the electronic card, right? So let me turn that way. They got the electronic card, so you can just put your phone to their phone and then the information's transferred. I don't know how many people are gonna be looking at those. I don't know. I don't know how many people look at a business card. People give me business cards every day, and I got stacked this big. I don't be looking at them things, man. You got to get me another way. You're not gonna get me through a business card. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And I don't think most of us are gonna get other people through a business card. So just keep that in mind. But speaking of that business card, um, phone number versus email. I'm still on business card, but I wanted to put it this way: phone numbers versus emails. I only put phone numbers on a business card when I was unknown. Now, you think I want the world calling me? Because when it got to a point when my name started rising and more people knew me, my phone was ringing off the hook. And it wasn't just clients who were calling me, it was people calling me asking me for advice. So it was all day long. It was ringing, it was ringing, it was ringing. I was like, oh my God. And people were like, oh my God, I didn't know that was your cell number, right? Because I didn't have a separate business line. I had a business line with a recording, but it got to the point where the voicemail was filling up, right? Because people were calling all day. So I had my cell for a while, and that's like, no. So you have a business line, but that voice messaging, the voice recording might fill up, and now you still missing calls. So I don't give them a number. There's no marketing material out there with my cell on it or any phone number. I use an email address, right? In terms of cards, right? No, I use a website now, but I used to have email address on the card. Not anymore, because I want them on the website. Same rationale as that title page. But some of you may not want to go that way. You may really want to have contact with that person. My recommendation: put your email address. Because if you put your phone number, you're gonna have everybody calling you. If you did a dynamite presentation, they may not be calling you for business. They may be calling you for the extra lecture, right? And you may not have that kind of time, but you may not want a reputation. Because see, if you don't give them what they're asking for, then they're gonna be talking about you. Oh man, he was good on stage, but he kind of stuffy when you talk to him one on one. See, I don't want to put myself in that position, so therefore you can't call me, but we can email. And then if you're gonna book me, now we could talk, right? Or if it's somebody they're doing they want some information from me, they want me to participate in their dissertation study. Then some of them, not all, because a lot of them call too, reach out to me too. But those I can, then I'll talk to them, right? Or we'll get on a Zoom call, whatever it is. So you got to kind of balance it out, and whatever makes sense for you, you go with it. I got two more, y'all, and then I'm done. Following up on email inquiries. This is important, man, because I know that there are people out here. I know this definitively because I hear about it. When they call you, when they reach out to you, and they're inquiring about your services, meaning that they have an interest in you possibly coming to speak. Let me tell you something. Just because they called you doesn't mean they're going to hire you. It means they inquired. That's the word I put on the screen: inquiries. They're inquiring. They want to hear a little bit about what you do. They want to hear your fee, right? Now, if I was doing a real heavy duty salesmanship presentation here, which I'm not, then I would tell you hold off the fee as long as you can and sell them on your service, sell them on your speaking. But I'm not going to get deep into that because that's a whole lecture. But I will repeat it just for someone that maybe I kind of threw you off base. Hold off on telling your fee as long as you can if you're not someone seasoned and well known, because the fee may end the conversation. Sell yourself, sell your services, sell what you bring, sell how you add value to that school, that organization, that company, whatever the category is. And if you can hold off on talking fee, they ask you, what's your fee? Like, well, hang on before I tell you my fee. Let me tell you what I do, right? You want them to be as knowledgeable as possible on what you do, right? But that's a separate conversation. Number 22 is saying, so they inquire and you send them back an email, or send your number, they send you a phone number and they ask you to call. So you call. So you have conversation, you have dialogue with them one way or the other. And now you finish the conversation. They say, okay, we'll be in touch. But you notice after a week, they haven't gotten back to you. You don't wait anymore. Not y'all newbies. Me, it's a different conversation. you got to call them. And I wouldn't rely on email. If you have their number, don't send them no email. Call. Let them know you interested. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. But here's what you cannot do. You can't let that email sit in a file. Right? Now, me, again, I've been doing this for a long time. The seasoned people, they've been doing it for a long time. My calendar stays full. I'm not following up on all those because I got enough on my calendar. I got too much on my calendar. I'm not following up on all those, right? They'll just sit there. And if my business ever gets slow, then I'll go back to all them files with all them people that inquired but didn't hire me, right? But right now, God is good. So I haven't had that that hasn't been my issue ever in my career, right? But I keep them. I have a matter of fact, I shouldn't take things for granted. I have a separate file for everybody that's ever called me, everybody that's ever emailed me. I have a separate file. Yeah, I can't take that for granted. I can't assume y'all know that. There could be somebody out there, you sitting there right now saying, "What?" Yeah, I just said it. I have a separate folder on this computer for every, every person. Capital letters, every. Put an exclamation point at the end too. Matter of fact, put it in bold font and put it at 50-point font. Put it in big letters, right? I have a separate folder in this computer for every person that has ever inquired about my work. From 2000, I would say from 2006, no, 2004, that's the date. That's when I first went national. From 2004 to 2024, I can go into this computer or my external hard drive, I should say, for the older ones, and I can pull those folders up. Yeah, because you never know. I ain't going back to 2004 people, but I could certainly go back to say 2020 people that inquired but didn't hire me to say let's resume that conversation. So I am strongly suggesting to you that you keep a folder with everybody that inquired, and then you put a date on it. If and you put these in chronological order. So you put the year first. See, I don't post folders with the month, day, and year in that sequence. I post everything as year, month, and day. That's how I do it. Let me say it again. Year, month, and date. That's how it's structured. So now, because if you put month, day, and year, man, you might have a hard time getting the stuff. But you put year, and the whole all the way spelled all the way out 2024, right? Because you do it the other way, like say, look, just year, right? So year, month, and day, right? And then that year, month, and day will be the date that they had in mind. Now, if they didn't give me a date, then I'll put the date that they sent the email. And that's a folder, not just a separate email by itself. It's a folder. So that way, if we have follow-up conversation, I can put the new email in the folder as opposed to now I got to make a folder. Let me just get that out the way. So there's a folder. So just think about how many folders I got. From 2000, I do for many years, I was doing about 200 presentations a year. I've scaled that back considerably. I do about my goal is just to do about 125, like cap it off right there, right? Because I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't feel like all that flying no more. I don't feel like running through all them airports like I used to. I don't get a charge from that anymore. I used to. I thought that was like so big time. Oh man, I'm going on a flight, man. I'm going to speak. I'm not there anymore. So I want to cap that at like 125, right, per year, right? And many of you know I'm a million miler with United. I said that in the previous video. And that's just over a 12-year period. I accumulated 1 million miles with United Airlines, another 300,000 between American and Delta. Right, so I'm in the sky all the time. I got wings, man. I got wings. I'm flying. So I'm saying to you, yeah, create those folders. And when those people email you but don't hire you, in about a week they didn't even contact you back, reach out. Reach out to them. And you know, don't ask them why they didn't call. Start selling yourself, right? Start selling yourself. Start reminding them that you're that guy, you're that gal, you're it. But you got to convince them, not arrogantly, not cocky, but make them understand that you the best one for the job, for that keynote, for that seminar, for that workout, a workshop, for that breakout. But when you get there, you better deliver. You better deliver. So that goes back to video 4 when we talked about presentation. You better deliver. Your stuff better be on point. Your stuff better be tight because you followed up. You convinced them when they were leaning towards somebody else. So now that somebody else is not going to be there, it's you. Well, you better deliver, or they're not going to call you again, and they might talk about you. Because I told you, the speaker world, the clients in the speaker world, it's small. They talk. They talk. Last one, y'all. This is the last one of the whole series. The last one is the question, the subtopic. When can I quit my job? Listen, I can't give you a definitive answer, but I do want to spend a couple minutes on this question. When I left my job, I left a six-figure salary. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you how much I was making. I was a principal. I was making $160,000. I was doing well for myself. The school was underperforming when I got there in 2005. When I left in 2011, the school was considered one of the best high schools in America by US News and World Reports magazine for 3 consecutive years. So I was there for 6 years. So my final 3 years, US News and World Report said this is one of America's best high schools. In fact, it might have been 4 years because my last year, I don't think I paid attention. Yeah, because I was leaving. I had one foot in and one foot out, so to speak. I knew I was getting ready to make this transition into the speaking world. So I think it was 4 years, right? They said we one of the best. Test scores, 100% proficient. We working. I received the Milken Award. That's the highest one of the highest awards in all of education, the National Milken Educator Award. Right? Things were going well. National Alliance of Black School Educators gave me the Hall of Fame award. I accumulated over 150 awards in education. I already had I think four books under my belt when I left. I had done some things, right? But here's what I didn't have. I didn't have clients. But I do know I had people who were interested in me. I knew that. Because speaking wasn't new for me in 2011. I had been speaking nationally since 2004. I had been speaking since 1986. But in 2004, I had my first national audience and it snowballed. So I had people calling. But when I left, I didn't have engagements lined up. But I knew it was the end of the school year and I knew I didn't want to start another school year. I was ready to pursue my bigger dream. See, principalship was a big dream, but being a speaker was a bigger dream. I wanted to be a speaker, but even bigger than that was being an entrepreneur. That was the bigger dream. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want no boss. I had been working with superintendents for years. I was done with that. I was done with reporting to a superintendent. I was done with reporting to a board of education. I was ready for self self man, I can't even speak. Fulfillment, self-sufficiency. I was ready for that. I was ready for self-employment. I was ready to look in my mirror every day and see the boss looking back at me, right? I was ready for that life. So I stepped out on faith, but I knew I had built a foundation. I was speaking nationally. So I was out of town a lot on weekends speaking to national audiences. On vacation days, I was somewhere speaking to national audiences. On summer breaks, I was even though principal never has a break, but I did have vacation days. I'm out speaking nationally. So I'm building a foundation. So, hey, somebody out there, don't just quit and you got no foundation and all your faith is in God. I mean, yes, have faith in God, but be smart about it. You got nothing, you just going on faith, but you got nobody knows you. No, that's not smart. So you have to start building speaking places, speaking in a multiplicity of places for free. Just getting your name out there, people getting to know you. I know I said this in another video, but I need to say it again with this question on the screen. It's the last question. You got to build momentum. You got to go places. Don't just confine yourself to your state. Maybe the states that are contiguous to your state. You go into those places and finding out where are places that are looking for speakers, right? Not just paid speakers, free speakers, right? Speaking to parents, speaking to community groups, speaking to different organizations that will want to speak, or just developing your craft of speaking, right? But building name recognition. So that now when some conference pops up, I talked about getting into conferences and all that in the previous video. So just go to video, it's either 3 or 4, I don't remember, right? But just go to watch the whole series, 1 to 5, right? And I broke that down. I laid it down, I broke it down. So go to those videos and find out how you get into these conferences so that you build a clientele, because your future clients are sitting in those rooms. You just have to get in there, right? So you'll get to a point where okay, I got momentum now. You can't predict the next 2 months, but if you have some momentum that there's interest in you, all right, now maybe I'll just take this plunge now. But don't burn the bridge to the previous job or the previous industry. So if you have to go back, see, I don't want to be reckless. I can come hard on you and say, there is no bridge, right? Like just declare. I'm not going to do that. I do that when I'm with certain people, but I'm not going to do that on this where I can't see who's on the other side. So don't burn that bridge. Don't go all or nothing, but build momentum to the point where you feel I'm ready. That's where you want to get to. I'm ready. I can do this. And my family, and this is key, if you have a family, my family will be better off because of my decision to leave. My family will benefit from this, right? They will be better financially, right? I'll be able to build something. But you got to have that level of confidence. If you don't have that level of confidence, then this is not your season. Not yet. Stay on that day job and keep building, keep building, keep building. But once you get to that point where, yeah, because that's what I did, man. I was 50 years old, but I had been building since 2004 when I was um 43, right? Nah, 30. Well, no, 43. So I was building. So that was 2000. What am I saying, man? Yeah. So that by 2011, yeah, 43. So by 2011, I was 50. My 50th birthday had already come. So yeah, that's what it is. So 2004, my 44th birthday hadn't come yet. So I was 43. And that's when I started building that momentum. That was it, man. I'm building. I'm building. I'm speaking different places because I'm going to these conferences, paying my own fees, right? Paying my way, my own dime, my airfare, lodging, rental car, taxi, whatever it was. And I'm going these different places. I'm going these different places, and more name recognition. I'm writing articles for major publications, education publications. I'm writing blogs for major publications. I'm writing books for major publisher ASCD. I'm positioning myself. I'm positioning myself. I'm positioning myself, and then finally, I turned 50, and I said, "Yeah." It's in 2010 I turned 50, so in 2011 that January I'm still 50. So we get to the end of the school year, and it's July 1, and I told the boss earlier than that though, but July 1, it was like that was the day I bounced. I was out, and now I'm out here on my own in the wilderness, and I had enough momentum to build, and that's what I did. And here I am now, 2024, 13 years later, and I'm loving life. I'm living my best life because I did this intelligently. I was smart. I quit my job at the right time. Didn't mean I had what I needed when I quit, but I knew I could build at that point. So I'm gonna leave that with you. Listen, y'all, over a period of, I don't know, 2 weeks, I did 5 videos. This is part 5. If you happen to stumble on this one first, please go back to part 1. Don't watch this one first. Go, if you stumbled on this, well, if you got this far, that means you've seen the whole video. But now go to part 1. Watch it in its entirety. Watch it multiple times. Part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. I don't have anything else to say on these. I had 4 videos called Thoughts to Consider toward writing a best-selling book, but I took them down recently. They were up since 2018, I think, and I took them down. Maybe later. 19. I don't know, something like that. I took them down because I wanted to. I just wanted to make them better. They were great. They helped a lot of people. I didn't like the background. I was home, but I like this better. I still keep this home background though. Nothing professional. And I'm gonna put them up soon. Thoughts to consider toward writing a best-selling book. I'm probably going to call it "So You Want to Be a Best-Selling Author," though, to keep that same flavor. So you want to be a professional speaker. So look out for them. I'm gonna record them soon. They should be all done by the end of March, end of April, something like that, of 2024. If you're seeing this after that, that means I've already completed them. But other than that, y'all, thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the winner's circle, celebrating your victory. Peace.